Hi all, welcome back to more Empyrion. Hal here, and today we're going to do a little bit of a by request video. So, I had a couple of people asking specifically about some switch functionality, so I figured I'd go through really quick and show you what we're doing with this and how to use these things. Alright, so, first up, let's talk about the actual switches. So, we are in creative mode, which means that the door functions are kind of broken. The logic doesn't work in creative the same way it does in the regular survival mode. So you'll be able to walk up on these, but in the survival mode, the doors actually work the way they're supposed to. So just to get that out of the way. Now, with that being said, what we can do is the simplest way to use switches and doors is to basically place a switch, place a door, tie them together, right? Really simple to do. In fact, I'll show you exactly what we did here. Go into the signal logic. Well, first off, when you look at the door, hit P and it'll bring up the panel. Go into the signal logic if you're not already on that tab. And when it'll show you the door that you're looking at, and it'll tell you what it's using to open or close, right? So we have it set to the front door, which is the name of this switch, well, the TX signal, I should say, is called front door. This door will follow the position of the switch. So if you turn the switch on and you have power to the base, obviously, the door opens. Now this is true for ramps as well. So if you have a ramp, what you can do is actually tie it to the same switch. We're just gonna throw one of these here really quickly and show you exactly how you do this. Open and close, we want front door. And for the ramps, as you can see, what they do is the ramps actually are inverted. This is its closed position, and this is its open position. So what you actually want to do is when you're placing a ramp, you want to tell it to invert. So now, when you turn it off, it'll be closed. When you turn it on, it'll open. Alright? Nice, simple stuff. Now, like I said with the door, we're going to go through and it's going to close because it's using proximity in creative mode. Don't worry about it. Moving on, now what we were actually talking about on one of the previous videos where we were talking about script logic was ways to have a door that is controllable both interiorly and externally, right? I should say internally and externally. Now, what we've got here is a switch on this side of the wall. Let's go into God mode really quick. And we have another switch out here. Now, as you can see, the two switches are in different positions, right? And this is important because right now, we're using it with this AND operator. So what we've done is we have this door following signal 1, which is coming off of AND. So both switches have to be turned on in order for the door to open. Once you go through, you would turn it off and the door closes. And again, because we're in creative mode, we can actually get back in there. But in order to get back in, you would just turn it on. Now what you can do, instead of using the AND operator, we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. And we're going to do an XOR, right? So for this, we are going to do back door and closed door. Now, for these to be true, right, for this door to actually do anything, only one of the switches can actually be, oh, I forgot we need to, signal 2. There we go. Right, only one of the switches can be in an on state. So if you turn off either switch, it will open. Now, what we want to do is see if we can get it to do this. And you see when I turned off the switch, because they're both off, the door closes, right? So you turn the switch on, you come through, turn the switch on, and it would actually close. And then you would do the same thing. When you switch this one off again, this door would open. And when we turn the switch off, door closes. Switch on, door opens. Switch on, door closes, you see? Now, the way that the logic works, right? So the and says both of these things have to be turned on. If either one of them is turned off, the circuit, it's not a true condition, so the signal will not continue. Or says this or this has to be true. So if you have an or operator in there, if either switch is turned on or both switches are turned on, the signal will carry through. The XOR says only one of these things can be true for the entire thing to be true. So if both switches are on, it's a false set. So it won't let you go, it won't continue the signal. So that's basically how these work. If you use some nesting logic when you're building your circuits, you can actually set these up so that you've got pretty much an infinite number of switches controlling them. And what's even funnier is using combinations of all of these, you can actually set up puzzles where you have multiple switches within a base that have to be turned on. And in order for you to turn them on, maybe hide them behind doors. So if you're not operating them in the right order, you're not going to be able to get to the switches to turn them all on to open the final door at the end of the base. And that's just some of the things that you can do with the switches. So we're going to come over here now, and we've got this one set up for sensors and light beams. If you can see that sensor up there on the roof, we're going to get out of God mode. When I get to the ramp, as I come up, the door opens because I have that sensor set up to detect us way out here. So it's nice because if you have a situation where, let's say you're playing single player and you want to have automated doors, you can have them set up like this, and the signals, or I should say the fields of detection for the sensors, actually pass through walls. So you can have these. Let's do this. Let me show you. So we're going to put that there. So now you can't see the sensor anymore. Turn that off. When we get onto the ramp, door's still open. And this is important because if you want to set things up, especially on bases, if you're setting up something where you're trying to build challenges for people, if you have sensors that are visible, people know where to go to hit the sensors, right? You basically see it, it tells you there's something there. If you're putting them behind false walls, people don't know it's there, and when they come in, you could have maybe an explosive charge, you could have, a minigun sitting behind the door, so when you get to this point and the door opens, you're like, oh god, and incoming fire kills the intruder. Now, the light beams, I don't normally recommend for this type of operation unless you are doing something where you've got a delay circuit set up on them. Right now, this one has no delay, but what I would do is if I was actually going to use a light barrier for this process, I would actually go in and set a delay based off of that light barrier, which is going to be our intruder detector. And I would set a delay for probably about 3 seconds or so. So we go back here, we want, you are based on that one, so we're going to now base you off of this one. And when I get to it, you're going to do a 3 count. The door opens and stays open for that duration. Now every time you trip the light, you're going to get that behavior. So let's count 2000, there you go. And then it'll stay open for the same amount of delay. And it should be closing here. Oh, I'm still tripping it. So, yeah. Now the reason I don't normally recommend using the beams for this type of operation is because you can actually scrape down the side of a wall and get past them. Now what you can do is, in order to defeat that, let's grab our sensors again. We're set it to the beam, and what we're going to do is we're going to remove this one and we're going to put it here instead. Now let's go, we're just going to say int2. Make sure you hit enter so that it captures that. We're going to set this to int2. And then if you are in a gravity well, specifically on a planet when you're doing this with the base, there's no way to crouch to get over or under these. So it becomes a little bit more viable. The only thing you need to remember is when you're setting up the field for all of the sensors, the red dot signifies the bottom of the sensor. So if this was sitting vertical like it is right now, the bottom is actually this way. This is more important when you're talking about these guys up here, because when you're setting these up, what you're going to have is there's actually a really nice amount of control. So basically, front is how far does it extend out in front of the device. Side 1, 2, 3, and 4 will determine which ways you're going as far as left, right, up, or down. Now, what I actually recommend is they recently added this interactive setup. I say use this because this allows you to move around. You can see where your field is, and if you do left control and then use the numbers on the keypad, so 4 will give you this, 6 gives you the other side, 8 gives you up, 2 gives you down. If you want to shrink them on that same axis, you then hold left control, left alt, and choose the side that you want to shrink. Okay. So you can actually get away with quite a bit. Now, the one thing that you can't do is how far out it extends. So for that, what you need to do is you actually do have to come back in here, exit out, and what we're going to do is we're going to say how far out in front it goes. We're going to change that to 2. So now the door won't open until you get basically where the normal operation of the automatic door would be. So, and that's how you use the sensors. Again, using sensors, light beams, and switches in combinations, you can come up with some really, really intricate puzzles and systems. And it just comes down to how creative you are and how much thought you're putting into your design. What you want to do, like I said, is you definitely want, if you're going to use these for traps or puzzle sets, you definitely want to make sure that you're building in false walls, because you're going to have, basically you have to have a place for the sensor to be mounted. And unlike some of the other games that use similar technology, this Empyrion does not allow you to set a detection range behind the sensor, which is very unfortunate. I would actually like to be able to have it set to the back as well, because then that way you can just place one of these things and be done with it. So you're most likely going to use these by doing overhangs, where you'll have something set up like this, and then this way. Because what that'll allow you to do is you can now have this thing monitor larger sections of hallway. You can have it over extended areas, so you could actually put one of these things in the hangar. Actually, wrong sensor. Motion sensor. There you go. There we go. So yeah, you'd be able to have one of these things basically watching a very large area for you. Now, the final piece that I want to show you is a different way of using these, because we've been talking about how things work with doors and ramps, and basically a little bit more of an advanced concept of where we start setting up traps and chaining things together. The other thing you could do is, let's say you have a control room in your base, right? And you want to see what people are doing, or even a maze that you've set up for somebody to run through. You can actually use these to trigger lights as well that track people. So if you have a control room, you can actually have, say, like let's say you have a giant wall that you've set up that has a copy of your floor plan, right? And you actually do this fairly easily with using the paint system. Let me bring up paint tool really quickly. What do they call it? It's the colorization tool. There we go. And what I would do is say, let's say that was my entrance, this is the hallway, and I would put lights here that corresponded to sensors inside. So when somebody came through, all of these lights would be turned off, and as they went through and tripped sensors, I would see which way they were going. So there's all sorts of things you can do with this, and I haven't seen a lot of people using some of these features yet. So hopefully this will have sparked your imaginations a little bit, and yeah, so if so, let me know by hitting that like button if you did enjoy it. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to throw them down below. This is something, this entire system, the whole script logic system, is something that I get a lot of questions about, and I've been spending a lot of time answering and building scripts for people. So I'm not going to claim to know everything about the system, but I'll do my best to help you if I can, and if I can't help you directly, I'll try and get you in touch with somebody who can. But that should give you a little bit more of an idea of how you can use the system, get you thinking a little bit more outside of the box, hopefully. And yeah, we're going to get out of here. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for stopping in, and like I said, if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit those like buttons. On that note, we're out of here. Have a fantastic day, have a terrific week, and we will see you back here next time for more Empyrion. As always, folks, take care and be safe out there, everybody. Ooh, screenshot. Right there, baby.